Sincerely, Tactless. So, am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my neighbors? So, for context, I have PTSD due to a previous relationship, and aggressive men are a trigger for me. I'm in therapy and getting help. That's good. I've lived with my husband in our apartment for over a year. New neighbors moved in a bit after us and have been fighting nonstop since. Oh, that's awful. I don't know if you guys have dealt with this, but neighbors that fight, especially in an apartment, is the worst because you hear it all. So I usually ignored it, but until now. A few months back, late one night, our neighbors began to fight. Like the woman was slamming doors, beating on walls so hard it was knocking stuff off our shelves and walls. That is impressive. I've not witnessed such a thing. I'm not sure what they were fighting about, but I could also hear their two small children hysterically crying. Oh my God, that's no good. I'm not one to call the police on people, but when I heard the kids crying, I couldn't help myself. I don't blame you at all. After the cops came, nothing happened and they settled down for a little bit until the other weekend. The wife and husband were arguing in the morning. The husband left, and then I could hear the mother screaming at her child and throwing things. So I called the police again and went back to cleaning my house. Yeah, I don't blame you there either. Took the trash out, and I guess the mother's friend saw me, assumed I was the one who called, and then a while later, the husband and wife showed up at my husband and I's, threatening us and told us they called leasing, or I guess the leasing office, and complained about us. The husband was being very aggressive. Here's where I think I'm the a-hole. I lied to them. I said I didn't call. I don't know why I lied. I guess I was scared. I totally get this. I went over later and spoke with the wife and apologized. And here's where I might be the a-hole again. I told her I only called the other month. I feel bad that I lied, but am I the a-hole? Also, called the leasing office to see if we could get in trouble, and they said we were fine. And I guess these neighbors have had tons of other neighbors call and complain and have the cops come several times to their apartment. I just feel terrible and like I messed with something I wasn't supposed to. I think, man, reading all of this, you can tell this person was in a bad relationship before, and this triggered those things. And that I'm sure that's why they lied. We were just talking about it. I would admit to things that I didn't do because I didn't want the confrontation. If this person's being aggressive in your face, you're gonna lie so that they go away. So to that point, I really don't think so. Not to mention, if they're this aggressive, screaming, banging on the walls, their kids are screaming, I wouldn't doubt that they're being abusive to their kids in addition to each other. And the more that happens and the more the police come might be a good deterrent for them. I really don't think that's the wrong way to go at all. And it sounds like, after talking to leasing office, she's not the only one that's called on them if they've been up, if the police have been up several times. So just sounds to me like, some of the decisions that she made were based on previous experience. Unfortunately, she's in a bad relationship, and that PTSD can really pop back up in a bad way. It's almost like autopilot. So I really don't. I honestly would just brush off the lying to them thing. Because at the end, it doesn't matter who called. What matters is these people need somebody to intervene. If they're having knockout, drag out fights, they're knocking over other people's stuff on their walls. That doesn't need to happen. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that. Sounds like these people really need help, and maybe somebody to intervene on their kids' behalf too. Sounds terrible.
Yeah, and if they're this loud and throwing crap, if it hasn't escalated to that point of physical violence, it will, right? It's not
For sure.
there's not like a stopping point. They don't go, "Oh, this is too far," you know.
Yeah.
They have no boundaries. And honestly, yeah, I if they came into my face and went, "Hey, did you call the police on me?" I'd probably be like, no. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. For self-preservation, because you don't know what kind of retaliation they would do. They sound like
Oh yeah.
those kind of people too. And I don't know if I would have gone as far as to apologize about the other incident. Yeah, maybe it was just I mean, you are next door neighbors. You're trying to kind of keep the beast at bay.
Yeah, you have to sort of, as much as you can, at least have a decent relationship with these people, but it doesn't sound like they they can have a decent relationship with each other, let alone anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they're okay with going and confronting this person at and their husband at their apartment. I mean, that makes you the aggressor, in my opinion, when you step onto someone else's doorstep to say what they said, because they know. There's no way they do not know that having fights like that is not appropriate. I mean, everybody at this point knows something about, not hitting other people, or like, if you're an adult, you know that's not the right way to do things, but then trying to channel that aggression at somebody else who called you out on it, or you think called you out on it, it just drives the point home to me that they should have the police called on them regularly if that's how they act.
I can understand where this person is coming from. I get triggered by those things because I lived through those things too. So I would have definitely called the police, especially with children involved. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And it sounds like the time when the wife was left at home alone with the children, it sounds like she was returning that same behavior to her children that she received from her husband. So that's a dangerous situation, definitely. So, but I don't think there was anything wrong about lying to them about calling the police, because you're just going to incite violence upon yourself.
Hmm.
And this person, you can tell they've been in a relationship like that because they blame themselves for doing the right thing. Because it upset the other couple, who are very aggressive and very abusive. So I thought that was interesting to see that, because I've done that myself. Yeah, definitely not an a-hole for doing that. You have to protect yourself too. Sometimes, I mean, the truth is very important, but sometimes you have to protect yourself and do the right thing as well, without bringing all this wrath on yourself for no reason. So,
Yeah, and if they can do that to each other, what the heck could they do to you if they know that you're the one calling?
she
You
already
know?
knows what these people are like. They're obviously very violent people.
Yeah, you don't want to invite that in.
No, yeah, that could make her life a living hell. You might find
Oh,
her
for sure.
tires slashed. That seems to be the MO of people like this.
Yep.
Yep.
Fun times.
Hopefully, since the leasing office is aware, they don't get their lease renewed. Maybe they have to go live somewhere else,
Maybe they'll move too if people keep calling on them.
right? And then this lady will get a nice neighbor. They can like exchange baked goods and stuff,
I was
like
about
neighbors
to
are
say
supposed to.
that. They bring you cookies. They're like, here,
Yeah.
they're breaking your stuff and making it fall off the walls and your shelves and stuff.
Right? Yeah, the worst you have to worry about is their house always smells like chocolate because they're always baking.
Yeah. Or you might, if your, significant other is against sugar, you might have to hide the baked goods, like our accidental grocery getter there,
Hmm.
you know?
Could be a real